The San Francisco Superior Courthouse went silent as the prosecutor slammed a folder onto the evidence table. $2.3 million stolen from Grant Technologies, funneled into offshore accounts, all traced back to Ethan Cole's laptop, his digital signature, his employee credentials. Ethan sat at the defendant's table, hands shaking. 26 years old, and his life was about to end in this courtroom. The jury wouldn't even look at him. They'd already decided he was guilty. His public defender, Daniel Chen, looked defeated. They had no witnesses, no evidence, nothing. Just Ethan's word against a mountain of forensic accounting reports. The prosecutor, Margaret Sullivan, turned to the jury. Ethan Cole wants you to believe he was framed, that his wealthy half-siblings orchestrated this conspiracy out of jealousy, but the evidence doesn't lie. He had access. He had motive. He got greedy. The jury nodded. Ethan felt sick. "Your Honor," Sullivan said, "the prosecution calls Victoria Grant to the stand." Ethan's stomach dropped. Victoria walked down the aisle like she owned the room. Cream Armani dress, perfect hair, dabbing her eyes with a tissue like she was the victim here. Sullivan approached with a sympathetic smile. "Miss Grant, this must be difficult for you. Can you describe your relationship with the defendant?" Victoria sighed, glancing at Ethan with fake sadness. "When our father died 6 months ago, we were shocked by the will. Ethan inherited 60% of Grant Technologies. We barely knew him, but we tried to welcome him. We offered to help him learn the business. And how did he respond? He became paranoid. He accused us of sabotaging him. Then 4 months ago, our CFO discovered the missing money. We confronted Ethan, but he denied everything. The forensic accountants traced it all back to his laptop. We had no choice but to go to the police. Do you believe Ethan had the access and knowledge to commit this crime?" "Objection," Chen said weakly. "Speculation. Overruled." Victoria looked at the jury. "Yes, he had full access to every account. The transfers were made from his laptop during times when only he was in the house. I didn't want to believe it. But the evidence is clear." Ethan wanted to scream. She was lying, every word. But he had no proof. Sullivan smiled. No further questions. Chen stood for cross-examination. "Miss Grant, didn't you contest your father's will?" "We believed there were irregularities. And if Ethan is convicted, don't you stand to inherit his shares?" Victoria's expression didn't change. "I stand to see justice served. My father built that company, and watching someone steal from it breaks my heart." The jury bought it completely. Chen sat down. He had nothing. "The prosecution rests," Sullivan said. Ethan felt the walls closing in. This was it. Guilty verdict. Prison. Game over. Then the courtroom doors burst open. Everyone turned. A young black woman in a simple blue dress walked down the aisle, clutching a manila folder to her chest. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were determined. Jasmine Brooks. Ethan's maid. His heart stopped. What was she doing here? "Excuse me," Judge Howard said sharply. "This is a closed trial. If you're not a witness—" "I have evidence," Jasmine said, her voice trembling but loud. "Evidence that proves Ethan Cole is innocent." The courtroom exploded. Victoria's face went white. Trevor grabbed her arm. Sullivan shot to her feet. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular. This witness wasn't disclosed." "I wasn't subpoenaed because Victoria Grant threatened me," Jasmine said, walking toward the judge. Her voice got stronger. "She told me if I testified, she'd destroy my family. But I can't stay silent. Ethan is innocent, and I can prove it." Judge Howard stared at her. "Is this woman known to you, Mr. Cole?" Ethan nodded, still in shock. She's my housekeeper, Jasmine Brooks. Miss Brooks, do you understand that lying under oath is a crime? Yes, Your Honor. Everything I'm about to say is the truth. The judge looked at Sullivan. Do you object? Sullivan's jaw clenched. I object on the grounds. Overruled. Miss Brooks, approach the bench with that folder. Jasmine handed over the folder. Judge Howard opened it, and her eyes widened. She looked at Jasmine, then at Victoria, then back at the documents. Bailiff, swear in the witness. Jasmine sat in the witness chair and locked eyes with Ethan. Her look said, trust me. I've got you. Judge Howard held up the folder. Ms. Brooks, you're claiming this is evidence of a conspiracy to frame Ethan Cole. Yes, Your Honor. And you're claiming Victoria Grant and Trevor Grant are responsible. Yes, Your Honor. Victoria jumped up. This is absurd. She's lying. Sit down, Miss Grant, or I'll hold you in contempt, Judge Howard snapped. Victoria sat, trembling with rage. Before I tell you what Jasmine revealed, do me a huge favor right now. Smash that like button and drop a comment telling me what you think happens next. The YouTube algorithm rewards. Early engagement and your like and comment help push this story to more people. Just take 2 seconds. Please. It genuinely helps. Now let me take you back 6 months to where this nightmare started. Ethan had never been inside his father's house, not once in 26 years. He pulled up to the Pacific Heights estate in his beat-up Honda Civic, parking next to a row of Mercedes and Teslas. The mansion sat on a hill overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, all cream stucco and terracotta tiles, the kind of house that appeared in architecture magazines. A butler answered the door. Actually answered the door like this was a movie. Ethan Cole. Follow me. The foyer was massive. Marble floors, chandelier the size of a car, family photos lining the hallway. Victoria graduating Stanford. Trevor shaking hands with politicians. Diane on a horse in full riding gear. And at the end, a giant portrait of Richard Grant himself. Silver hair, expensive suit, confident smile. Ethan had only met him twice in his entire life. The butler led him to a wood-panelled office that smelled like leather and old money. Ethan sat in the back row. His half-siblings occupied the front like they owned the place. Victoria was 32, sharp-featured, Chanel suit, radiating cold authority. She didn't acknowledge Ethan's existence. Trevor was 29, scrolling his phone with the bored expression of someone who'd been promised the world since birth. Diane was 24, the youngest, and the only one who looked at Ethan. She gave him a pitying smile that made his skin crawl. The estate attorney, Gerald Moss, cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. I'll read Richard Grant's final wishes. Victoria leaned forward. Trevor put his phone down. To my children, Victoria, Trevor, and Diane, I leave trust funds of $5 million each, the Napa and Lake Tahoe properties, and my art collection. Victoria's smile tightened. That wasn't the company, Moss continued. However, controlling interest in Grant Technologies, 60% of all shares, I leave to my son Ethan Cole. The room exploded. What? Trevor jumped up. That's impossible. Victoria went pale, then red. Checked the document again. There's been a mistake. Diane's voice was ice. This can't be real. Ethan sat frozen. This had to be a joke. Moss pulled out a sealed envelope. Your father left this letter for Ethan. He insisted it be read aloud. Moss opened it and began reading in Richard Grant's words. Ethan, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. I wasn't a good father to you. I was a coward who let pride keep me from claiming you publicly, but I watched you from a distance. I saw you work 3 jobs to get through San Jose State. I saw you take care of your mother when she got sick. I saw the man you became without my money or my name. Victoria, Trevor, Diane, I love you, but I raised you to see people as assets. Ethan sees people as people. Grant Technologies needs that. Ethan, they're going to hate you for this. They're going to fight you, but you're the only one I trust to build something that matters. Don't let them break you. Dad. The silence was suffocating. Victoria stood, grabbed her purse, and walked out without a word. Trevor slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. Diane stayed just long enough to say, "He was dying and delusional. We'll contest this. You won't see a dime." Ethan sat alone in that office for 20 minutes, staring at the letter. His father had believed in him, and his siblings were about to destroy him for it. 3 weeks later, Ethan moved into the estate. The butler, whose name was Edmund, showed him to a bedroom suite on the 3rd floor. It had its own sitting room, bathroom with a jacuzzi tub, and a balcony overlooking the bay. Ethan set his duffel bag on the bed. Everything he owned fit in one bag. "Will you be needing anything, sir?" Edmund asked. "Just some time to process this," Ethan said. Edmund nodded and left. Ethan walked out onto the balcony. The sun was setting over the Golden Gate Bridge, painting the sky orange and pink. This view alone was worth millions. And it was his now. All of it. He should have felt grateful. Instead, he felt like an imposter. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "Family dinner tomorrow. 7 p.m. Don't be late." He showed up at 7 sharp. The dining room could have seated 20 people. Victoria sat at the head of the table in their father's chair. Trevor and Diane flanked her like sentries. Ethan took a seat at the opposite end. "We need to discuss the transition," Victoria said, not bothering with small talk. "You inherited the company, but you don't know how to run it. Trevor has an MBA from Wharton. I've been COO for 8 years. Diane handles investor relations. We're offering to help you." "Help me?" Ethan asked. "Mentor you," Trevor said. "Teach you the ropes. You can't just walk into the CEO office and pretend you know what you're doing." Ethan studied their faces. They looked sincere. "Almost. What do you get out of it?" he asked. Diane smiled. "We keep the company our father built from crashing into the ground. That benefits all of us." Ethan wanted to believe them. He wanted to think they'd accepted the will, that they were willing to work together. But something in Victoria's eyes told him otherwise. "I appreciate the offer," Ethan said carefully, "but I need some time to figure things out on my own first." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. Take all the time you need." The dinner ended in tense silence. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He wandered the house, exploring rooms he'd never seen, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a home theater, a wine cellar, a gym with equipment he didn't know how to use. He ended up in the kitchen around midnight, making himself a sandwich. That's when he heard footsteps. A woman appeared in the doorway. Early 20s, black, wearing jeans and a hoodie, holding a mop and bucket. She froze when she saw him. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I didn't know anyone was still awake. I'm just finishing the floors." "No, it's okay," Ethan said. "I couldn't sleep." "I'm Ethan. I know who you are," she said, then caught herself. I work here. I'm Jasmine Brooks. I do the cleaning." "Nice to meet you, Jasmine." She nodded, still looking uncomfortable. "I'll just finish up and get out of your way." "You're not in my way. Want half a sandwich? I made way too much." Jasmine hesitated, then smiled. "Sure, thanks." They sat at the kitchen island, eating in comfortable silence. Finally, Jasmine said, "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Why'd he do it?" "Your dad. Why'd he leave you everything?" Ethan shrugged. "I honestly don't know. I barely knew him." "But he knew you," Jasmine said. "I've worked here for 2 years. Sometimes I'd clean his office, and he'd be on the phone, talking about you. He'd say things like, "Ethan got promoted at his job," or "Ethan helped his neighbor move." He kept track. He cared. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He had a funny way of showing it. Yeah, rich people are weird like that. Ethan laughed despite himself. "You're not wrong." Jasmine stood up, grabbing her mop. "I should let you sleep, but for what it's worth, I think he made the right choice. Your siblings? They're not good people." "You've met them?" "I've worked for them. That's how I know." She left before Ethan could ask what she meant. Over the next few weeks, Ethan tried to settle into his new life. He went to Grant Technologies headquarters in downtown San Francisco, a glass tower near the Embarcadero. His office was on the top floor with panoramic views of the bay. His assistant, an efficient woman named Carol, walked him through his schedule. "You have a board meeting at 10, lunch with the head of R&D at noon, investor calls at 2... "Wait, slow down," Ethan said. "I don't even know what R&D stands for." Carol blinked. "Research and development, sir." "Right. Of course. The board meeting was a disaster." 10 executives sat around a conference table, firing off questions about quarterly projections, market positioning, and competitor analysis. Ethan understood maybe 30% of what they were saying. Victoria, sitting across from him, smiled every time he stumbled over an answer. After the meeting, she cornered him in the hallway. "Ethan, I don't mean to be harsh, but you're in over your head. Let Trevor and me handle operations while you learn. It's for the best." "I'll figure it out," Ethan said. "Will you? Because right now you're making us look incompetent." She walked away, heels clicking on marble. Ethan went home that night feeling like a failure. Edmund served him dinner alone in the massive dining room. Ethan ate in silence, staring at the empty chairs. Then Jasmine appeared, pushing a cleaning cart. "Rough day?" she asked. "That obvious? You look like you want to crawl into a hole." Ethan laughed bitterly. "That's about right." Jasmine sat down across from him, uninvited. "You want my advice? Please, stop trying to be them. Your dad didn't leave you the company because you went to fancy schools or knew business jargon. He left it to you because you're not like them. So stop pretending. But I don't know how to run a company. So hire people who do. People you trust. People who aren't trying to sabotage you." Ethan stared at her. "You think they're sabotaging me?" Jasmine hesitated. "I think you should be careful. That's all." Over the next 2 months, Ethan took Jasmine's advice. He hired consultants, read every business book he could find, and slowly started to understand Grant Technologies. The company developed software for healthcare systems, helping hospitals manage patient data. It was actually meaningful work, the kind of thing that helped people. Ethan started making changes. Small ones at first. He approved a project the board had rejected, a free software pilot for rural clinics. It wasn't profitable, but it was the right thing to do. Victoria called him into her office the next day. "What are you doing?" "Approving projects I believe in. That clinic software loses us money. It saves lives. We're not a charity, Ethan. Maybe we should be more like one." Victoria's expression went cold. "You're making a mistake. It's my company. My mistake to make." That night, Victoria called an emergency family meeting. Trevor and Diane showed up at the estate. Ethan met them in the library. "We need to talk about your leadership," Victoria said, not bothering with pleasantries. "I'm doing fine," Ethan said. "You're running the company into the ground," Trevor snapped. "That clinic project, you just threw away $2 million. I invested $2 million in good PR and community outreach." Diane leaned forward. "Ethan, we're trying to help you. But if you keep making reckless decisions, we'll have no choice but to call a vote of no confidence with the board." "You can't do that." "We can," Victoria said, "and we will, unless you start listening to us." They left him sitting in the library, hands shaking with anger. That night, Ethan found Jasmine cleaning the kitchen. He told her everything. "They're going to push me out," he said. "I can feel it." Jasmine was quiet for a moment. "Then you need to be smarter than them, and you need to watch your back. I don't know if I can do this. You can. Your dad believed in you. I believe in you. Don't let them win." Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. She was the only person in this whole mess who seemed to genuinely care. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. Jasmine smiled sadly. "Because somebody should... If you're hooked on this story and want to see what happens next, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me if you've ever been in a situation where family turned on you. Let me know, and please, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. Now, let me tell you about the day Ethan's life completely fell apart. Over the next month, things got worse. Projects Ethan approved were mysteriously delayed. Meetings were scheduled without him. Board members stopped responding to his emails. He'd show up to the office and find Victoria in his chair going through his files. "Just catching up on some paperwork," she'd say with that fake smile. Ethan started working from home more often. The estate felt safer somehow, even though it had belonged to his father. At least here, he could think without Victoria breathing down his neck. Jasmine noticed the change immediately. One evening she found him in the library, surrounded by stacks of financial reports. He'd been there for hours, trying to make sense of the numbers. "You're going to burn yourself out," she said from the doorway. Ethan looked up, rubbing his eyes. "I have to figure this out. Something's not adding up in these quarterly reports, but I can't pinpoint what." Jasmine walked over and looked at the papers spread across the desk. "What are you looking for?" "I don't know." "That's the problem." He leaned back in his chair, frustrated. "I keep feeling like they're hiding something from me, but I don't have proof." Jasmine picked up one of the reports. "My degree was in business administration. I took accounting classes. Want me to look?" Ethan blinked. "You have a business degree?" "San Francisco State. Graduated 2 years ago." She smiled sadly. "But degrees don't pay medical bills. My mom got sick right after I graduated. Cancer. The treatments wiped out. Everything we had. I needed a job fast, and housekeeping paid cash under the table while I figured things out. I'm sorry. I had no idea. Why would you? I'm just the help." She said it without bitterness, just stating a fact. "You're not just anything," Ethan said, "and if you're willing to help me with these reports, I'd really appreciate it." They spent the next 3 hours going through the numbers together. Jasmine was sharp, catching things Ethan had missed. She pointed out discrepancies in vendor payments, unusual transfers between accounts, patterns that didn't make sense. "See this?" She tapped a line item. "This vendor payment repeats every month. Same amount, same company. But I've never heard of Apex Solutions Group. Have you?" Ethan shook his head. "No. Should I have? If they're getting paid $50,000 a month, yeah. That's $600,000 a year." Jasmine grabbed her phone and searched for the company. Nothing comes up. No website, no address, nothing. So it's a fake company? Or a shell company? Someone's funneling money out and making it look legitimate. Ethan felt his stomach drop. "Victoria, Trevor, they're stealing, maybe, but you need more proof before you accuse them." Over the next 2 weeks, Ethan and Jasmine worked together every night after everyone else had gone home. She'd finish her cleaning duties, then join him in the library. They found more fake vendors, more suspicious transfers. Someone had been systematically draining Grant Technologies for years, and they'd gotten very good at hiding it. "Your father must have known," Jasmine said one night. "Maybe that's why he left everything to you. He wanted someone who'd actually investigate. Or maybe he trusted them, and they've been robbing him blind," Ethan said. They were getting close to having enough evidence to go to the board. Ethan planned to present everything at the next meeting, expose Victoria and Trevor, and finally prove he wasn't the incompetent idiot they made him out to be. But Victoria was smarter than he thought. One morning, Ethan woke up to find the police at his door. Edmund appeared in his bedroom, looking shaken. "Sir, there are officers here. They say they need to speak with you immediately." Ethan went downstairs in his pajamas. Two detectives stood in the foyer. A man and a woman, both wearing serious expressions. "Ethan Cole?" the woman asked. "Yes?" She pulled out a badge. "Detective Sarah Martinez, SFPD Financial Crimes Unit. This is my partner, Detective James Wong. We need you to come down to the station to answer some questions about irregularities at Grant Technologies." "What irregularities?" "It would be better if we discussed this at the station, sir." Ethan's mind raced. "Am I under arrest?" "Not at this time. But we strongly advise you to cooperate. I want to call my lawyer." "That's your right." Ethan called the only lawyer he knew, Gerald Moss, the estate attorney. Moss told him not to say anything and that he'd meet him at the station. At the police station, Ethan sat in an interrogation room for 2 hours before Moss arrived. When the attorney finally showed up, he looked grim. "What's going on?" Ethan asked. "They're accusing you of embezzling $2.3 million from Grant Technologies." Ethan's world tilted. "What?" Moss opened his briefcase and pulled out documents. "Someone filed a complaint with the police. Anonymous tip. The police got a warrant and found evidence of transfers from company accounts to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The account is in your name." "That's impossible. I don't have an offshore account. According to these bank records, you do, and according to the forensic analysis, the transfers were initiated from your laptop using your company credentials." Ethan felt like he was going to be sick. "It's Victoria. It has to be. Jasmine and I found evidence that someone's been embezzling for years. We were about to expose them. Do you have that evidence?" "It's in my laptop." "In the library at the estate." Moss's expression darkened. "Ethan, the police seized your laptop this morning. They have a search warrant for the entire estate." "No. No. That laptop has everything. All our research. If it's there, we'll use it in your defense." But Ethan knew better. Victoria had set this up perfectly. She'd waited until he had evidence against her, then flipped it. Now it would look like he was the one stealing, and any evidence he had would look like he was trying to frame them. He was released on bail later that day. Edmund picked him up from the station. When they got back to the estate, the place had been torn apart. Police tape across doorways, furniture moved, papers everywhere. Jasmine was waiting in the kitchen. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. "They came with a warrant," she said. "They took everything. Your laptop, your files, even your phone records." Ethan sank into a chair. "It's over. She won—" "No." Jasmine's voice was firm. "No, she didn't, because I made backups." Ethan looked up. "What?" Jasmine pulled a USB drive from her pocket. "Every night after we worked, I copied everything to this. All the evidence we found, all the research. I had a feeling something like this might happen." Hope sparked in Ethan's chest. "Does anyone know you have that?" "No one." "Then you need to hide it. If Victoria finds out—" "I know. I'll keep it safe." Over the next few days, the story hit the news. tech billionaire's bastard son accused of embezzling millions. The headlines were brutal. Reporters camped outside the estate. Business partners dropped their contracts. The board held an emergency meeting and voted to suspend Ethan pending the criminal investigation. Victoria gave a tearful interview on the local news. "We wanted to give him a chance. We wanted to believe in him the way our father did. But the evidence is overwhelming. I hope he gets the help he needs." Ethan watched it from his bedroom, feeling numb. Jasmine knocked on his door later that evening. "I brought you dinner. You need to eat." "I'm not hungry." She came in anyway, setting a tray on his desk. "Eat anyway. You need your strength." Ethan looked at her. "Why are you still here? You could quit. Find another job. This place is going to be a circus." "I'm not quitting." "Jasmine, I said I'm not quitting." She sat down on the edge of his bed. "You didn't do this. I know you didn't. And I'm not going to abandon you just because things got hard. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you approved that rural clinic project, even though it lost money because it was the right thing to do. I know you spent 3 hours helping Edmund figure out his retirement paperwork because he was confused. I know you're nothing like them." She paused. "And I know what it's like to be accused of something you didn't do." "What do you mean?" Jasmine looked away. "When I was 19, I worked at a jewelry store in Union Square. Designer place, really expensive. One day, a necklace went missing. $5,000. The owner accused me of stealing it. She said I was the only one working that day, that I must have taken it. I didn't. I would never. But she called the cops, and I got arrested." "What happened?" "They dropped the charges 2 weeks later. They found the necklace in the owner's safe. She'd put it there herself and forgot. But by then I'd lost my job, my reputation, everything. No one wanted to hire someone who'd been accused of theft, even though I was innocent." She met his eyes. "So yeah, I know what you're going through. And I'm not going anywhere." Ethan felt emotion rise in his throat. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to prove you're innocent. But proving it was harder than they thought." Ethan's lawyer, Gerald Moss, was an estate attorney, not a criminal defense lawyer. He referred Ethan to someone else, but all the good lawyers wanted retainers Ethan couldn't afford. His assets were frozen. The only money he had was what he'd saved from his old job, and that wouldn't cover a day in court. He ended up with Daniel Chen, a public defender who looked barely 30 and had too many cases. "I'll do my best," Chen said during their first meeting. "But I have to be honest with you. The evidence against you is strong, really strong. If we go to trial, you're probably going to be convicted. I didn't do it. I believe you. But juries don't care about belief. They care about evidence. And right now, all the evidence says you're guilty. The trial date was set for 3 months away. In the meantime, Ethan was stuck in the estate, unable to work, unable to access his money, unable to do anything except wait. Jasmine became his lifeline. She brought him meals, made sure he showered and got out of bed, sat with him when the anxiety got too bad. They spent hours talking about everything and nothing. She told him about growing up in Oakland, about her mom's fight with cancer, about her dreams of starting her own business someday. He told her about his childhood, about his mom raising him alone, about the emptiness of knowing his father existed, but never being part of his life. "Do you hate him?" Jasmine asked one night. They were sitting on the balcony, watching the lights of the Golden Gate Bridge. "My dad?" Ethan thought about it. "I used to. When I was a kid, I hated him for not being there. But now, I don't know, he left me everything. That has to mean something. It means he saw who you really are, and he knew his other kids would never be what you are. What am I? A good man. She said it simply, like it was obvious. Ethan looked at her. The moonlight made her skin glow. She was beautiful, but it was more than that. She was kind and smart and brave, and she was the only person in the world who believed in him. "Jasmine," he started. "Why?" "Because I need to stay focused, and if you tell me what I think you're going to tell me, I won't be able to think straight." Ethan smiled, despite everything. "Okay. After, then." "After," she agreed. 2 weeks before the trial, Victoria came to the estate. Jasmine answered the door. Victoria looked her up and down with barely concealed disgust. "I need to speak with Ethan. He's not taking visitors." "I'm not a visitor. I'm his sister." "Half-sister," Jasmine corrected. "And you're the reason he's in this mess." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Be very careful, Jasmine. You're an employee. That means you can be replaced." "Actually, Ethan's my employer, not you. For now." Victoria pushed past her into the house. Jasmine followed her to the library, where Ethan was reading. "We need to talk," Victoria said. Ethan looked up. "I have nothing to say to you." "Then listen. I'm here to offer you a deal. I don't want your deal. You'll want this one. Plead guilty. Accept a plea bargain. 5 years in minimum security instead of 20 in federal prison. In exchange, you sign over your shares in Grant Technologies to Trevor, Diane, and me." Ethan laughed bitterly. "So that's what this is really about." "The company? Of course it's about the company. It's always been about the company. Dad was a fool to leave it to you. You're not one of us. You never will be. You're right, I'll never be like you. I'll never frame an innocent person to steal what I want." Victoria's smile was cold. "You have 48 hours to think about my offer. After that, we go to trial, and you lose everything." She left. Jasmine came into the library after she was gone. "You're not actually considering her offer, are you?" "No. But she's right about one thing. If we go to trial, I'll lose." "Not if I testify." Ethan shook his head. "I'm not putting you in danger. It's not your choice. That USB drive has all the evidence we need. I'm going to give it to your lawyer." "Victoria threatened you once already. If you testify, she'll come after you harder. Let her try—" "Jasmine, Ethan, stop. I'm doing this. You saved my mom's life." Ethan blinked. "What? That rural clinic project you approved?" "The one Victoria said was a waste of money. It included a free screening program. My mom went. They caught her cancer coming back early. Stage 1 instead of stage 4. Because of you, she's alive." Tears filled Jasmine's eyes. "So yeah, I'm testifying. You don't get to stop me." Ethan stood and pulled her into a hug. She held on tight. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank me yet. We still have to win." Jasmine took the USB drive to Daniel Chen's office the next morning. Ethan wanted to go with her, but she insisted on going alone. "If Victoria has people watching you, I don't want them to see us together," she said. She was right. Ever since the charges were filed, Ethan had noticed cars parked outside the estate, photographers with long lenses, people who seemed to appear wherever he went. Chen's office was in a cramped building in the financial district. Jasmine found him buried under files, looking exhausted. "Mr. Chen? I'm Jasmine Brooks. I work for Ethan Cole." Chen looked up. "Miss Brooks, I'm aware of who you are. But I have to warn you. Anything you tell me about Mr. Cole might not be privileged if you're not family. I'm not here to talk about Ethan. I'm here to give you evidence that proves Victoria Grant and Trevor Grant framed him." She placed the USB drive on his desk. Chen stared at it like it might explode. "What's on this?" "Everything." bank records showing shell companies they created, wire transfers that match the pattern of the money they claim Ethan stole. Emails between Victoria and Trevor discussing how to access Ethan's laptop. It's all there. Chen plugged the USB into his computer. His eyes widened as he clicked through the files. Where did you get this? Ethan and I found it together. We were investigating irregularities in the company's finances. We were going to present it to the board, but then the police showed up and arrested Ethan. And Victoria doesn't know you have copies. Chen sat back in his chair. Miss Brooks, this changes everything. With this evidence, we can prove Ethan was framed, but... He hesitated. But what? If we use this in court, you'll have to testify. You'll have to explain how you obtained this evidence, verify its authenticity, and withstand cross-examination from Victoria's lawyers. They will tear you apart on the stand. They'll question your credibility, your motives, everything. I know. They might come after you personally. Your job, your reputation, your family. My mom's alive because of Ethan. He approved a healthcare project that saved her life. I'm not going to let him go to prison for a crime he didn't commit. Chen studied her for a long moment. Okay, we'll use this, but I need you to be prepared for what's coming. Victoria Grant doesn't lose, and she won't take this lying down. Neither will I. That night, Jasmine went back to the estate and found Ethan in the gym, hitting a punching bag like it had personally wronged him. Sweat dripped down his face, his knuckles were red, but he kept going. You're going to hurt yourself, Jasmine said from the doorway. Ethan threw one more punch, then stopped, breathing hard. I gave Chen the evidence. Good. Victoria's going to come after you. I know. I mean it, Jasmine. She doesn't play fair. She'll find out everything about you. Your mom, your past, that jewelry store thing. She'll use it all against you. Jasmine walked over and handed him a towel. Let her try. I'm not scared of her. You should be. Why? Because she's rich? Because she's powerful? Jasmine shook her head. I've survived worse than Victoria Grant. I watched my mom almost die. I've been accused of theft. I've worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. Victoria doesn't scare me. She's just a bully with money. Ethan smiled despite himself. You're something else, you know that. I've been told. Over the next week, things started moving fast. Chen filed a motion to introduce the new evidence. The prosecutor objected, claiming it was obtained illegally. The judge scheduled a hearing. Victoria found out almost immediately. She showed up at the estate 3 days later with Trevor. Jasmine was in the kitchen when they barged in. Edmund tried to stop them, but Victoria pushed past him like he was furniture. Where is he? Victoria demanded. Mr. Cole is not accepting visitors, Edmund said firmly. I don't care. Ethan, get down here. Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs. What do you want, Victoria? You need to call off your little maid. Tell her to retract whatever lies she told your lawyer. They're not lies. They're evidence. And Jasmine's not mine to control. Victoria turned to Jasmine. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to ruin your life over someone who doesn't care about you. He cares more about people than you ever will. Jasmine shot back. Trevor stepped forward, his face red. Do you have any idea who you're messing with? We can destroy you. One phone call and you'll never work in this city again. Then make the call, Jasmine said. I'm not backing down. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Your mother is sick, isn't she? Cancer patient at San Francisco General Hospital. It would be a shame if her insurance suddenly had issues, if her treatments got delayed, if... It's not your house, Victoria hissed. It's our father's house, And soon it'll be ours again. The will was legal. The lawyers confirmed it. Wills can be contested, especially when the beneficiary is a convicted felon. Victoria smiled. Enjoy your last few weeks of freedom, little brother, because once you're in prison, I'm going to burn everything Dad left you to the ground. They left. Jasmine's hands were shaking. Ethan noticed and took them gently. She meant it, Jasmine whispered. She's going to go after my mom. No, she's not, because I'm going to make sure she can't. Ethan pulled out his phone and made a call. Carol, it's Ethan. I know I'm suspended, but I need you to do something for me. Jasmine Brooks' mother is a patient at SF General. I want her transferred to UCSF Medical Center, private room, all expenses covered by Grant Technologies. Can you make that happen? There was a pause. I don't care if I'm suspended. I still have access to emergency healthcare funds. Use those. And Carol, if anyone tries to block this, anyone at all, I want you to go directly to the board and tell them Victoria Grant threatened a patient's medical care. That's a felony. They'll have to act. He hung up. Jasmine stared at him. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Your mum shouldn't suffer because you're helping me. But what if the board... The board will do what's right. And if they don't, we'll deal with it. Ethan squeezed her hands. You're not alone in this, Jasmine. I've got your back, too. She hugged him then, right there in the foyer, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a world that kept shifting under her feet. Edmund cleared his throat from the doorway. Sir, Miss Jasmine, I feel I should mention something. They pulled apart. I've worked for the Grant family for 20 years, Edmund continued. I've seen a lot of things, heard a lot of conversations. If you need someone to testify about the family's character, about things I've witnessed, I'm willing to do so. Ethan blinked. Edmund, you could lose your job. I'm 72 years old, sir. I don't need this job. I need to sleep at night. And I can't do that knowing an innocent man is going to prison while those vultures get away with theft. He straightened his bow tie. Your father was a complicated man, but he was a good judge of character. He chose you for a reason. I'd like to honor that choice. Thank you, Ethan said, his voice thick. Don't thank me yet. We still have to win this bloody trial. The hearing for the new evidence happened a week later. The courtroom was packed with reporters, company board members, and curiosity seekers. Victoria sat in the front row with her lawyers, looking confident. Chen presented the USB drive's contents. Bank records, emails, wire transfers, everything. Victoria's lawyer, a shark named Robert Hutchinson, stood up. Your Honor, this evidence is clearly fabricated. My client has been the COO of Grant Technologies for 8 years. She would never engage in such activities. Your Honor, Chen countered, we have digital forensics experts ready to testify that these documents are authentic. The metadata alone proves they were created over a span of years, long before Mr. Cole ever inherited the company. Judge Howard looked at the evidence. I'll allow it. The jury will hear this evidence and determine its credibility. Victoria's face went pale. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Jasmine. Ms. Brooks, how did you obtain this evidence? Did you steal it from Victoria Grant? Are you having an affair with Ethan Cole? Jasmine pushed through them, saying nothing. Ethan was waiting by his lawyer's car. You okay? He asked. I've had better days. They drove back to the estate in silence. When they got there, Jasmine went straight to her room. A small bedroom on the second floor that Richard Grant had provided for live-in staff. She sat on her bed and finally let herself cry. There was a soft knock on her door. Jasmine? It's me. She opened the door. Ethan stood there, looking worried. "I'm okay," she said, "just overwhelmed. Can I come in?" She nodded. He sat on the edge of her bed while she took the desk chair. "I'm sorry," Ethan said. "I'm sorry you're in the middle of this. I'm sorry Victoria threatened your mum. I'm sorry reporters are hounding you. None of this is fair." "Life's not fair," Jasmine said. "If it was, your dad would have claimed you when you were born. My mom wouldn't have gotten cancer. Victoria wouldn't be a sociopath. But here we are." "Here we are," Ethan agreed. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" Jasmine said. "Anything? What are you going to do if we win?" "When you get the company back." Ethan thought about it. "Honestly? I don't know. Part of me wants to sell my shares and walk away from all of this. But another part of me remembers what my dad wrote in that letter. He said I see people as people, not assets. Maybe that's what Grant Technologies needs. Someone who cares more about impact than profit. You'd be good at that. You think so?" "I know so. That's who you are, Ethan. You see people. You saw me when I was just the maid. You saw your dad's vision even though he was never there for you. You saw that rural clinic project as a chance to help people, not just a budget line. Don't lose that. Whatever happens, don't let Victoria and her lawyers and this whole mess turn you into someone cynical." "What about you?" Ethan asked. "What are you going to do when this is over?" Jasmine smiled. "Remember that business degree I mentioned? I'm going to use it. Start my own company, something that helps people like my mom, people who need resources but can't afford them. Healthcare advocacy, maybe? Or patient navigation services? That's a great idea. It's a pipe dream. No, it's not. It's a plan. And when this is over, I'm going to help you make it happen. Ethan, I mean it. You saved my life, Jasmine. Let me help you build yours." Before she could respond, Edmund knocked on the doorframe. "Pardon the interruption, but there's someone here to see Miss Jasmine. A Detective Martinez." Jasmine's stomach dropped. "From the Financial Crimes Unit?" "She says it's urgent." Jasmine and Ethan went downstairs. Detective Martinez was waiting in the foyer, looking serious. "Ms. Brooks, I need to speak with you about the evidence you provided to Mr. Cole's attorney." "What about it?" "We've been investigating Grant Technologies for 6 months. Anonymous tips led us to believe there was embezzlement, but we could never find enough evidence. Then you show up with a USB drive full of it." Martinez crossed her arms. "I need to know where you got this information, and I need to know if you broke any laws obtaining it." "I didn't break any laws," Jasmine said. "I work at this house. I have access to the library, where Mr. Cole was conducting his research. Everything on that drive was information he compiled legally. And the emails between Victoria Grant and Trevor Grant discussing the frame-up. I found those in the trash folder on Victoria's laptop. She leaves it in the library sometimes when she visits. The laptop wasn't password protected." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "So you accessed her computer?" "I was dusting. It was open. I saw my name in an email and got curious. That's still potentially illegal access." "Is it?" "Because from what I understand, if a computer is left unlocked in a semi-public space, like a library in a shared residence, anything on the screen is in plain view. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break any passwords. I just read what was there." Martinez looked impressed, despite herself. "You've done your research. I have a degree in business administration. I know a little about corporate law." "Interesting. And you're willing to testify to all of this? Even though Victoria Grant will destroy you on cross-examination?" "She can try." Martinez handed Jasmine a business card. "Call me if anything happens. Threats, intimidation, anything. Victoria Grant is dangerous, and she's not going to go down without a fight." After the detective left, Ethan turned to Jasmine. "You lied to her. About what? You didn't just stumble across those emails. We found them during our investigation." Jasmine shrugged. "The detective doesn't need to know that. What matters is everything on that drive is real evidence. How we found it is less important than what it proves. But if they find out you lied, they won't, because technically I didn't lie. I did see my name in an email on Victoria's laptop. That part was true. I just left out some context." Ethan shook his head, smiling despite himself. "You're scary when you want to be." "I learn from the best," Jasmine said. "Victoria's been playing dirty for months. It's time someone fought back the same way." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the trial, about what would happen if they lost. Prison, 20 years, maybe more. He'd be 46 when he got out. His whole life, gone. He went downstairs around 2 a.m. and found Jasmine in the kitchen making tea. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "Too much going on in my head." She poured him a cup of chamomile. They sat at the island together, the house quiet around them. "Tell me something good," Ethan said. "Something that has nothing to do with trials or Victoria or any of this." Jasmine thought for a moment. "When I was 7, my mom took me to the beach for my birthday. We didn't have much money, so we couldn't afford Ocean Beach, but we went to Alameda Beach, which was free. My mom packed sandwiches, and we spent the whole day. Just the two of us, building sandcastles and looking for shells. It was the best birthday I ever had. Why? Because it was simple. Because it was just us. Because she made me feel like I was the most important person in the world, even though we were broke and she was working 2 jobs just to keep a roof over our heads." Jasmine smiled at the memory. "That's what I want when this is all over. More days like that. Simple days. Good days. You'll have them," Ethan said. "I promise." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." Jasmine looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted between them. The air felt charged, heavy with things unsaid. "Ethan," she started. "I know. After. We agreed. What if there is no after? What if—" He reached across the island and took her hand. "There will be. We're going to win this. And when we do, I'm going to take you to Alameda Beach, and we're going to build the best damn sandcastle anyone's ever seen." Jasmine laughed, tears in her eyes. "That's a terrible plan. It's a great plan. You're ridiculous. You like it." She squeezed his hand. "Yeah, I do." They sat like that until the sun came up, holding hands across the kitchen island, neither of them willing to let go first there. The trial started on a Monday in late October. The courtroom was packed. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but reporters lined the hallway outside, broadcasting live updates. Ethan wore a suit Carol had bought for him, dark grey with a blue tie. He looked professional, put together, nothing like the scared kid who'd shown up at his father's mansion 6 months ago. Jasmine sat in the gallery behind him. She'd dressed carefully, a navy dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back in a professional bun. She wanted to look credible, trustworthy, like someone a jury would believe. Victoria sat on the opposite side with Trevor and Diane. All 3 of them looked somber, like they were attending a funeral. Victoria caught Jasmine's eye and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Judge Howard called the court to order. The people versus Ethan Cole. Let's begin with opening statements. Margaret Sullivan stood. She was good at this, Ethan had to admit. She painted a picture of a greedy outsider who saw his inheritance as a chance to get rich quick. She talked about the evidence, the offshore accounts, the wire transfers, the digital signatures. She made it sound open and shut. Then it was Chen's turn. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about family betrayal, about what happens when greed and jealousy turn siblings against each other. Ethan Cole didn't steal $2.3 million. His half-sister Victoria Grant and his half-brother Trevor Grant framed him for a crime they committed. And we're going to prove it. The jury looked skeptical. The prosecution went first. They called the CFO of Grant Technologies, who testified about discovering the missing funds. They called forensic accountants who traced the money to offshore accounts. They called it specialists who confirmed the transfers were made from Ethan's laptop. It looked bad. Really bad. Chen did his best on cross-examination, but there wasn't much he could do. The evidence was what it was. Then Sullivan called Victoria to the stand. Victoria took the oath and sat down, the picture of wounded dignity. Miss Grant, can you describe your relationship with the defendant? Ethan is my half-brother. We didn't know each other growing up, but when our father passed away and left him the company, we tried to welcome him. We wanted to help him succeed. And how did he respond to your help? At first he seemed grateful, but then he became paranoid. He accused us of trying to sabotage him. He started making reckless business decisions, approving projects without board consent, ignoring established protocols. We were concerned, but we tried to be patient. When did you first learn about the embezzlement? 4 months after he took control. Our CFO discovered discrepancies in the accounts. At first we thought it was an error, but the forensic investigation revealed a pattern of systematic theft. We were devastated. Did you confront the defendant? Yes. He denied everything. He claimed we were setting him up, that we wanted to steal the company back, but the evidence was overwhelming. We had no choice but to report it to the authorities. Sullivan nodded sympathetically. I know this must be difficult for you. Having to testify against your own brother. Victoria dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But my father built Grant Technologies from nothing. He worked his entire life to create something meaningful. I couldn't let someone destroy that, even if that someone is family. The jury was eating it up. Several of them nodded along. Chen stood for cross-examination. He looked nervous. Victoria had that effect on people. Miss Grant, you said you tried to help the defendant. But isn't it true you called an emergency meeting threatening him with a vote of no confidence? We were concerned about his decision-making. That's not a threat. That's responsible corporate governance. And isn't it true that you would financially benefit from Mr. Cole's conviction? I don't see how. If Mr. Cole is convicted, his shares in Grant Technologies would be redistributed to you and your siblings, correct? That's a legal matter I'm not qualified to. It's a yes or no question, Miss Grant. Victoria's jaw tightened. Yes, but that's not why we reported the theft. We reported it because it was the right thing to do. How convenient that doing the right thing also makes you millions of dollars. Objection. Sullivan stood, argumentative, sustained. Mr. Chen, move on. Chen returned to his table and picked up a document. Miss Grant, do you recognize this? Victoria squinted at it. It appears to be an email. An email from you to your brother Trevor dated 6 months ago. Would you like me to read it aloud? Victoria went pale. I don't recall. Let me refresh your memory. Quote, we need to act fast. If Ethan finds out about the shell companies, everything falls apart. Talk to Hutchinson about our options. End quote. Chen looked up. Who's Hutchinson, Miss Grant? My attorney. And what shell companies were you referring to? I don't remember writing that email. Really? Because the digital forensics team confirmed it came from your email address, from your computer, with your unique IP address. So either you wrote it or someone hacked your email. Which is it? Victoria looked at her lawyer. Hutchinson stood. Your Honor, this email was obtained illegally. It was obtained from a laptop left unsecured in a shared space, Chen countered. No different than reading a letter left open on a desk, Judge Howard frowned. I'll allow it. Miss Grant, answer the question. Victoria's composure cracked slightly. I may have written that email, but it's been taken out of context. The shell companies were legitimate business structures. Legitimate business structures that don't show up in any public records. That have no employees, no addresses, no actual business operations. Chen put the email down. Ms. Grant, isn't it true that you and Trevor Grant created those shell companies to embezzle money from Grant Technologies? And when Ethan Cole started investigating, you framed him for your crimes? No, that's absurd. Then explain the email. Victoria looked flustered for the first time. I want to consult with my attorney. You're under oath, Miss Grant. Answer the question. I can't remember the specific context. No further questions. The prosecution rested their case 2 days later. Then it was the defense's turn. Chen called Edmund first. The butler took the stand in his usual bow tie and dignified manner. Mr. Pemberton, how long have you worked for the Grant family? In that time, did you ever witness Victoria or Trevor Grant engage in unethical behavior? Objection, Sullivan said. Relevance, Your Honor. Mr. Pemberton's testimony goes to the character of the accusers. I'll allow it. Mr. Pemberton, you may answer. Edmund cleared his throat. Miss Victoria has always been ambitious, perhaps excessively so. I've overheard conversations over the years that troubled me. Discussions about manipulating. Board votes, bribing officials, silencing whistleblowers. Mr. Trevor is much the same, though less subtle about it. Can you give a specific example? 3 years ago, a junior accountant discovered irregularities in the books. He planned to report them. The next day, he was fired. Miss Victoria told me, and I quote, "Some problems solve themselves when people know what's good for them." The jury shifted uncomfortably. What happened to that accountant? I believe he left San Francisco shortly after. I heard he'd received threats. From whom? I cannot say for certain. But the threats began immediately after Miss Victoria learned of his discovery. Sullivan objected repeatedly during Edmund's testimony, but the damage was done. The jury had seen another side of Victoria. Next, Chen called a digital forensics expert who testified that the emails from Victoria and Trevor were authentic. Then a financial expert who explained how the shell companies worked and traced their connections back to Victoria and Trevor. But the prosecution's evidence was still stronger. Ethan's laptop, his credentials, his digital signature on the transfers. Then Chen called Jasmine. If you're still watching, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button and leave a comment telling me if you think Jasmine's testimony will be enough to save Ethan. Your engagement helps this story reach more people. Thank you. Now let me tell you what happened when Jasmine took the stand. Jasmine walked to the witness stand in her navy dress, head held high. Her hands were shaking, but she clasped them together to hide it. The bailiff swore her in, and she sat down, looking directly at the jury. Daniel Chen approached with a gentle smile. Ms. Brooks, can you tell the jury how you know Ethan Cole? I'm his housekeeper. I've worked at the Grant estate for 2 years. And during that time, did you have opportunities to observe Mr. Cole's character and behavior? Yes. I saw him every day. He's kind, respectful, hard-working. He treats everyone with dignity, from Edmund the butler to the gardeners to me. He's nothing like his half-siblings. Objection, Sullivan said. Opinion, testimony. Your Honor, Miss Brooks is testifying about her personal observations, Chen said. I'll allow it. Continue. Chen pulled out the USB drive. Miss Brooks, do you recognize this? Yes. That's the drive containing evidence that Victoria and Trevor Grant embezzled from Grant Technologies and framed Ethan for it. How did you obtain this evidence? Ethan and I found it together. About 4 months ago, he asked for my help reviewing financial documents. I have a degree in business administration from SF State, so I know how to read accounting reports. We spent weeks going through the company's records and found patterns of theft going back years. Shell companies, fake vendor payments, unauthorized wire transfers. All of it led back to Victoria and Trevor. And you made copies of this evidence? Yes. I had a feeling Victoria would try something, so I backed everything up to that USB drive. I hid it in my room. Why didn't you go to the police immediately? Because we wanted to be sure. We wanted to have enough evidence that there'd be no doubt. We were planning to present everything to the board of directors. But then the police showed up and arrested Ethan, and I realized Victoria had beaten us to it. She'd flipped the whole thing and made it look like Ethan was the thief. Chen nodded. Miss Brooks, on the night of September 15th, did something unusual happen? Jasmine took a deep breath. Yes. I was cleaning the library around 11 p.m. Victoria and Trevor were there. They didn't know I was in the room. I was behind one of the bookcases. They were talking about Ethan. What did they say? Victoria said. The transfer goes through tomorrow. They'll trace it straight to his laptop. The bastard won't know what hit him. Trevor laughed and said, What if he tries to fight back? And Victoria said, He won't. He doesn't have the resources or the intelligence. This will destroy him. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Howard banged her gavel. Chen continued. Did you come forward with this information at the time? No, I was scared. I'm just a housekeeper. Who would believe me against Victoria Grant? What changed? Victoria threatened my mother. She came to the estate and told me that if I testified, she'd make sure my mom's cancer treatments were delayed or denied. My mom is everything to me, but I realized that staying silent would mean an innocent man goes to prison. I couldn't live with that. No further questions. Margaret Sullivan stood up for cross-examination. She looked like a predator who'd just spotted prey. Miss Brooks, you said you have a business degree from San Francisco State. Why are you working as a maid? My mother got cancer right after I graduated. Medical bills wiped out our savings. I needed money fast and housekeeping paid well, so you needed money. And Mr. Cole is a billionaire. Isn't it convenient that you're testifying on his behalf? He's not paying me to testify, but he did move your mother to a private room at UCSF Medical Center, all expenses paid. That's easily $200,000 in medical costs. Sounds like payment to me. Jasmine's jaw tightened. He did that because Victoria threatened my mother's care. He was protecting her, not buying my testimony. Or he was securing your loyalty. Miss Brooks, isn't it true that you have romantic feelings for Mr. Cole? Chen stood. Objection. Relevance? Your Honor, it goes to the witness's credibility and potential bias, Sullivan said. I'll allow it. Miss Brooks, answer the question. Jasmine felt her face flush. My feelings for Ethan have nothing to do with the evidence. The USB drive exists. The emails exist. The shell companies exist. Those are facts, not feelings. But you do have feelings for him, don't you? Yes, but that doesn't change what Victoria and Trevor did. Sullivan smiled like she'd won something. Miss Brooks, you claim you overheard Victoria and Trevor discussing the frame-up, but you didn't record this conversation, did you? No. You didn't tell anyone about it at the time, so we only have your word that this conversation happened. And we're supposed to believe that Victoria Grant, a sophisticated businesswoman, would discuss a criminal conspiracy where a housekeeper could overhear. She didn't know I was there. How convenient. Miss Brooks, let's talk about your criminal record. Jasmine went still. Chen shot to his feet. Your Honor, Miss Brooks was never convicted of any crime. But she was arrested, wasn't she? Sullivan pulled out a document. When you were 19, you were arrested for theft from a jewelry store where you worked. $5,000 necklace went missing, and you were the primary suspect. The charges were dropped. They found the necklace. I was innocent, but you were arrested. You were accused. You know what it's like to be wrongfully accused, which makes you sympathetic to Mr. Cole's situation. Perhaps sympathetic enough to lie for him. I'm not lying. Or perhaps you saw an opportunity. A wealthy man who needs help, who's isolated and vulnerable. You ingratiate yourself to him, cook up a story about his evil siblings, and suddenly you're the hero. And your sick mother gets moved to the best hospital in the city. Quite a payoff for some creative storytelling. That's not what happened, isn't it? You said yourself you have feelings for Mr. Cole. You said yourself your mother needed expensive medical care. You said yourself you're just a housekeeper who needed money. Seems like plenty of motive to fabricate evidence. The evidence isn't fabricated. The forensic experts confirmed it's real. The forensic experts confirmed the documents exist. They can't confirm how you obtained them or whether you altered them before making your convenient backup copy. Chen was on his feet again. Your Honor, Miss Sullivan is testifying instead of questioning. Sustained. Miss Sullivan, ask questions, don't make speeches. But the damage was done. Sullivan had planted doubt. The jury looked uncertain now. No further questions, Sullivan said, returning to her seat with a satisfied smile. Jasmine left the stand feeling like she'd been hit by a truck. Ethan caught her eye and mouthed, You did great. But she didn't feel great. She felt like she'd let him down. During the lunch recess, Ethan found her in the hallway outside the courtroom. I screwed up. I let her get to me. No, you didn't. You told the truth. That's all you could do. The jury doesn't believe me. I could see it in their faces. They think I'm lying because I love you. She said it without thinking, then froze. Ethan went very still. Do you? Love me? Jasmine looked at him. They'd agreed to wait until after. But there might not be an after. Yes, she said simply. I love you. And I'm terrified that it made me look like a liar on the stand. Ethan pulled her into a quiet corner, away from the reporters and cameras. Jasmine Brooks, I don't care what the jury thinks about your testimony. I care about you, and when this is over, however it ends, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving to you that you made the right choice by believing in me. Ethan. I love you too. I think I have since that first night in the kitchen when you shared your sandwich with me. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Jasmine kissed him then, right there in the courthouse hallway. Let the reporters see. Let Victoria see. Let the whole world see. When they pulled apart, Chen was standing nearby looking uncomfortable. Sorry to interrupt, but we need to prep for this afternoon. Sullivan's going to call rebuttal witnesses. The afternoon session was brutal. Sullivan called an IT expert who testified that the emails from Victoria could have been faked. She called a psychologist who testified about the psychology of false memories and how witnesses can convince themselves they heard things they didn't. She called Victoria's personal assistant, who swore Victoria was with her the night Jasmine claimed to have overheard the conversation in the library. Chen did his best to counter, but it wasn't enough. By the end of the day, the case looked like it could go either way. That night, back at the estate, Ethan and Jasmine sat in the library, surrounded by silence. "Tomorrow's closing arguments," Ethan said. "Then jury deliberation, then verdict. Whatever happens," Jasmine said. "I don't regret any of this. Testifying, standing up to Victoria, telling you I love you. None of it. Me neither." They held each other as the sun set over the bay, both of them trying not to think about what tomorrow might bring. The courtroom was packed for closing arguments. Every seat filled, people standing in the back, reporters crammed into the hallway outside. Margaret Sullivan went first. She was polished, professional, devastating. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about evidence. Not feelings, not stories, not sympathetic housekeepers with sick mothers. Evidence. And the evidence clearly shows that Ethan Cole stole $2.3 million from Grant Technologies. His laptop, his credentials, his digital signature, wire transfers made during times when he was alone in the house, an offshore account in his name. These are facts." She paced in front of the jury box. "The defense wants you to believe this is all an elaborate frame-up, that Victoria Grant and Trevor Grant, successful business executives with impeccable reputations, somehow hacked into Mr. Cole's computer, forged his digital signature, created fake evidence, and framed him for their own crimes. Why? Out of jealousy? Because their father left him the company?" She shook her head. "That's not how the real world works. The simple explanation is usually the right one. Ethan Cole had access, he had motive, and he got caught. Don't let sympathy cloud your judgment. Look at the evidence and do your duty." Then it was Chen's turn. He stood slowly, looking at each juror. "Miss Sullivan is right about one thing. This case is about evidence. But she's wrong about what that evidence proves. Yes, the transfers came from Mr. Cole's laptop. But who else had access to that laptop? Victoria Grant visited the estate regularly. Trevor Grant had been in the house dozens of times. The IT expert testified that someone with physical access to a laptop can clone credentials, copy digital signatures, and make it look like the owner initiated transactions. Chen walked over to the evidence table and picked up the USB drive. This drive contains emails between Victoria and Trevor Grant discussing their embezzlement scheme. It contains bank records showing shell companies they created. It contains wire transfers that match the exact pattern of the theft they accused Mr. Cole of committing. The prosecution wants you to ignore this evidence. They want you to believe Jasmine Brooks fabricated it. But 3 independent forensic experts confirmed these documents are authentic, that they were created over years, that they came from Victoria and Trevor's computers. He turned back to the jury. Why would Jasmine Brooks risk everything, her job, her safety, her mother's health, to lie for Ethan Cole? The prosecution suggests she's in love with him, as if love automatically makes someone a liar. But love can also make someone brave. Brave enough to stand up to powerful people who threaten to destroy her. Brave enough to tell the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. Chen's voice grew stronger. Victoria Grant sat on that stand and lied to you. She claimed she didn't remember writing emails that forensic experts proved came from her computer. She claimed the shell companies were legitimate business structures, but they have no employees, no addresses, no operations. She claimed she reported the theft out of duty to her father's legacy, but she stands to inherit everything if Mr. Cole is convicted. He paused. The truth is simple. Victoria and Trevor Grant have been stealing from their father's company for years. When Ethan Cole started investigating, they framed him. And when Jasmine Brooks threatened to expose them, they tried to intimidate her into silence. Don't let them get away with it. Look at all the evidence, not just the pieces the prosecution wants you to see. And find Ethan Cole not guilty. The jury deliberated for 3 days. 3 days of agony. 3 days of Ethan pacing the estate like a caged animal. 3 days of Jasmine making tea she didn't drink and food neither of them could eat. 3 days of Edmund checking his phone obsessively for updates. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, Chen called, they've reached a verdict. Judge Howard wants everyone back in court in 2 hours. The drive to the courthouse felt surreal. Traffic on the Bay Bridge, tourists taking photos, life going on like normal while Ethan's entire future hung in the balance. In the courtroom, Victoria sat with her lawyers looking confident. Trevor wasn't there. Rumour had it he'd fled to Monaco to avoid potential prosecution. Diane sat in the back, looking uncomfortable. Judge Howard called for order. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman, a middle-aged woman in a cardigan, stood up. We have, Your Honour. What say you? The courtroom exploded. Ethan felt his knees go weak. Jasmine grabbed his arm to steady him. Chen was grinning, pumping his fist. Edmund, watching from the gallery, wiped tears from his eyes. Victoria's face went white. She stood abruptly and tried to leave, but Detective Martinez was waiting by the door with 2 uniformed officers. Victoria Grant, you're under arrest for embezzlement, conspiracy to commit fraud, and obstruction of justice. You have the right to remain silent. The reporters went wild. Cameras flashed. People shouted questions. Ethan turned to Jasmine and pulled her into a hug. She was crying, laughing, holding on to him like she'd never let go. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. No, Ethan said. You did it. You saved me. Judge Howard banged her gavel, calling for order. Mr. Cole, you're free to go. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Bailiff, clear this courtroom. Outside, the media circus was insane. Reporters swarmed them, shouting questions. Mr. Cole, how does it feel to be vindicated? Ms. Brooks, will you press charges against Victoria Grant for threatening you? Are the 2 of you in a relationship? Chen held up a hand. Mr. Cole will make a brief statement, then we're done for the day. 6 months ago, my father left me his company. I didn't understand why. I'd never been part of his life, but his letter said I see people as people, not assets. Today proved him right, because the person who saved me wasn't a fancy lawyer or a corporate executive. It was Jasmine Brooks, a woman my half-siblings dismissed as just a housekeeper. She risked everything to tell the truth. She's the real hero here. He turned to look at her. As for whether we're in a relationship, yes, we are, and I'm the luckiest man alive because of it. The reporters ate it up, but Ethan didn't care. He was too busy looking at Jasmine, who was blushing and smiling and crying all at once. They went back to the estate and found Edmund had prepared a celebration dinner. Nothing fancy, just the 3 of them in the kitchen eating takeout from Jasmine's favourite Thai place. What happens now? Edmund asked. To the company? To the estate? I'm going back to Grant Technologies, Ethan said. I'm going to clean house. Fire anyone who was complicit in Victoria's schemes. Hire people who actually care about the mission. And I'm going to expand that rural clinic program that started all of this. And what about you, Miss Jasmine? Edmund asked. I'm starting my own company. Healthcare advocacy for patients who can't afford navigators. And I'm going to accept Ethan's investment offer because I'm done being too proud to ask for help. Actually, Ethan said, I was thinking you could do that and work at Grant Technologies. We need a chief operations officer. Someone who understands business, who isn't afraid to stand up to powerful people, who sees the mission instead of just the profit. Jasmine stared at him. Ethan, I'm not qualified. You have a business degree. You caught embezzlement that professional accountants missed, and you just took down one of the most powerful families in San Francisco. You're the most qualified person I know. I'll think about it, Jasmine said, but she was smiling. Later that night, after Edmund had gone to bed, Ethan and Jasmine sat on the balcony watching the lights of the Golden Gate Bridge. Remember when you asked me what I'd do when this was over? Ethan said. Yeah. I said I wanted to make sure Grant Technologies sees people as people, not assets. But there's something else I want. What's that? Jasmine's eyes went wide. Ethan, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 6 months. But 6 months with you has meant more than 26 years without you. Jasmine Brooks, will you marry me? She didn't answer right away. She just looked at him with tears streaming down her face. Then she nodded, laughing through the tears. Yes, yes, you ridiculous man. Yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, a simple diamond on a gold band, nothing ostentatious, just right, and kissed her under the stars. Behind them, inside the house, Edmund watched through the window and smiled. For the first time in 20 years, the Grant estate felt like a home. The next morning, Ethan woke up to find Jasmine's side of the bed empty. For a moment, panic shot through him. Had it all been a dream? Then he heard voices downstairs and smelled coffee. He found Jasmine in the kitchen with Edmund, both of them looking at her phone with matching expressions of shock. What's wrong? Ethan asked. Jasmine looked up. Trevor was arrested at the Monaco airport trying to board a plane to Dubai. Interpol picked him up an hour ago. He's being extradited. Good, Ethan said. That's not all, Edmund added. Diane Grant has requested a meeting with you. She's downstairs in the sitting room right now. Ethan exchanged looks with Jasmine. Did she say what she wants? No, sir, but she looks quite distressed. They found Diane perched on the edge of the sofa, looking nothing like the polished socialite from the will reading. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and a Stanford hoodie. She looked young and scared. Ethan, she said, standing up quickly. Thank you for seeing me. I know I don't deserve it. What do you want, Diane? To apologize, and to tell you everything I know about what Victoria and Trevor did. She took a shaky breath. I wasn't part of the embezzlement. I swear I wasn't. But I knew something was wrong. I saw the way they talked about you, the way they planned. I should have said something. I should have warned you. I was too much of a coward. Jasmine crossed her arms. Why are you here now? Because Victoria got caught. Because I'm ashamed. Because my father was right about Ethan and wrong about the rest of us. Because I don't want to be like Victoria and Trevor anymore. Diane looked at Ethan. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I want to help make this right. I'll testify against Victoria and Trevor. I'll tell the prosecutors everything I know. And I want to sign over my shares of Grant Technologies to you. Ethan blinked. What? My 5%. I don't want it. I didn't earn it. You're the one Dad trusted, and I should have trusted his judgment. She pulled out a folder. I already had my lawyer draw up the paperwork. I just need your signature. Diane, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. I need to prove I'm not like them. Please, let me do this one decent thing. Ethan looked at Jasmine, who shrugged slightly. It was his call. "Okay," he said, "but on one condition: you don't sign over your shares. You keep them, but you vote with me on all board decisions. And you work at Grant Technologies. For real work, not a fake executive position. I want you in operations, learning how the company actually functions, seeing the people our software helps. If you're serious about being different from Victoria and Trevor, prove it." Diane's eyes filled with tears. "Okay, yes, thank you." After she left, Jasmine turned to Ethan. "You think she means it?" "I don't know, but everyone deserves a chance to be better than they were. My father gave me that chance. I can give her one too." Over the next few weeks, the fallout from the trial dominated the news. Victoria was denied bail and held at the San Francisco County Jail awaiting her own trial. Trevor fought extradition, but eventually lost. The board of Grant Technologies held an emergency meeting and unanimously reinstated Ethan as CEO with full authority. His first act was firing half the executive team. Anyone who'd been complicit in Victoria's schemes, anyone who'd enabled the embezzlement, anyone who'd made Ethan's life hell for the past 6 months, gone. His second act was promoting Carol to Chief of Staff and offering Jasmine the COO position officially. "I still think you're crazy," Jasmine said when he presented her with the offer letter in his office, overlooking the Embarcadero. "Crazy smart," Ethan corrected. "You start Monday. Oh, and I'm doubling the rural clinic program budget. We're going national. The board will fight you on that." "Let them try. I have 65% of the shares now. I am the board." Jasmine grinned. "This is going to be fun." They got married 3 months later in a small ceremony at Alameda Beach. Just Edmund, Diane, Carol, Jasmine's mother, in remission and healthier than she'd been in years, and a handful of close friends. No press, no cameras, no circus. Jasmine wore a simple white dress from Nordstrom, not a designer gown. Ethan wore the same suit he'd worn to trial, because Jasmine said it was lucky. They exchanged vows with their feet in the sand and the sun setting over the bay. "I promise to see you," Ethan said. "Not as the maid, not as the woman who saved me, but as Jasmine. The smartest, bravest, most beautiful person I've ever met. I promise to build sand castles with you whenever you need simple days. I promise to never take you for granted." Jasmine's voice shook. "I promise to believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. I promise to tell you the truth, even when it's hard. I promise to be your partner, not just in business, but in everything. And I promise that no matter how successful we get, I'll never forget where we started. In a kitchen at midnight, sharing a sandwich." They kissed as husband and wife, while their small group of loved ones cheered. The reception was at a taco truck Jasmine loved in the Mission District. They ate street tacos and drank beer and danced to music from someone's iPhone. It was perfect, because it was theirs. Edmund gave a toast that made everyone cry. "Master Ethan, when you arrived at the estate 6 months ago, you looked lost, like a boy who didn't know where he belonged. But you weren't lost. You were exactly where you needed to be. Your father knew that. He knew you'd find your way, and you'd find Jasmine, and together you'd make something better than he ever could. Here's to young love, second chances, and sandwiches at midnight." Victoria's trial happened 4 months after Ethan's. It was shorter and less dramatic. The evidence was overwhelming. Diane testified, Edmund testified, even Trevor, who'd taken a plea deal, testified against her. Victoria showed no emotion when the guilty verdict was read. 22 years in federal prison, no parole. Ethan didn't attend the sentencing. He'd moved on. He and Jasmine were too busy running Grant Technologies, expanding the healthcare programs, and planning their future. They moved out of the estate. It was too big, too full of Richard Grant's ghost. They bought a modest house in Noe Valley with a small backyard and a view of nothing special. Jasmine planted a garden. Ethan learned to cook. They adopted a rescue dog named Chester, who barked at squirrels and slept on their bed. On weekends, they'd go to Alameda Beach and build sandcastles like Ethan had promised. Simple days, good days. One Saturday afternoon, about a year after the wedding, they were at the beach when Jasmine said, "I have news." Ethan looked up from the sandcastle turret he was constructing. "Good news or bad news? Depends on how you feel about being a father." Ethan dropped his plastic shovel. "You're pregnant? 8 weeks. I wanted to wait until I was sure before telling you." She smiled nervously. "So, how do you feel about it?" Ethan pulled her into a hug, getting sand all over both of them. "I feel like the luckiest man alive. Again. You keep making me the luckiest man alive. First you believed in me, then you saved me, then you married me. Now this. How many times can one person be lucky?" "As many times as we want," Jasmine said. "That's what happens when you see people as people. You get to build a life full of lucky moments." They sat on the sand watching the waves, holding hands, planning their future. A baby, a family, a life built on truth and trust and sandcastles. Edmund visited sometimes, officially retired but unofficially still checking in on them like he'd been doing for over 20 years. He'd sit in their kitchen drinking tea and tell stories about Richard Grant that made Ethan understand his father a little better. He was complicated, Edmund said one evening. Flawed, cowardly about the things that mattered most, but he knew quality when he saw it. He knew you were special, Ethan. He just didn't have the courage to tell you while he was alive. "I've made peace with it," Ethan said. "He gave me the company." That was his way of saying he believed in me. "He gave you more than that," Edmund said. "He gave you a chance to prove everyone wrong, and you did. You and Jasmine both." Diane came to dinner once a month. She'd taken Ethan's challenge seriously, working her way up from junior operations manager to director of community outreach. She wasn't Victoria or Trevor. She was something better, someone who'd seen the worst of her family and chosen to be different. "I've been thinking about Dad's letter," Diane said one night over Jasmine's homemade lasagna. "The part where he said he raised us to see people as assets. He was right. That's all Victoria and Trevor ever saw. Dollar signs and leverage points. But you two see actual people. That's why Grant Technologies is thriving now. That's why the rural clinic program is changing lives. Because you care about the mission, not just the profit." "Your father wasn't all wrong," Jasmine said. "He built something meaningful. He just lost sight of why he built it. We're just trying to get back to that original purpose." Grant Technologies became one of the most respected healthcare tech companies in the country. Not because they made the most money, though they did well, but because they treated healthcare as a human right, not a luxury. Their software helped small clinics, rural hospitals, underserved communities. They hired diverse teams, paid fair wages, and reinvested profits into R&D for technologies that helped people instead of just generating revenue. Ethan gave interviews sometimes, always crediting Jasmine for the company's success. "I'm the face," he'd say, "but she's the brain and the heart. None of this works without her." Jasmine launched her healthcare advocacy company, which Grant Technologies partnered with. Within 2 years, they'd helped over 10,000 patients navigate the complicated American system, securing treatments, negotiating bills, finding resources. Jasmine's mother volunteered there 3 days a week, paying forward the help she'd received. The baby arrived in March, a girl with Ethan's eyes and Jasmine's smile. They named her Hope because that's what she represented, hope for a future better than the past. Hope that family could be built on love instead of blood. Hope that good people could win sometimes. Edmund held baby Hope in the hospital and cried, "Your father would have been proud." he told Ethan. Not because you're rich or successful, because you're good. Because you chose to be better than the circumstances you were born into. We both did, Ethan said, looking at Jasmine. That's what happens when you find the right person. They make you want to be better. The Grant Technologies annual gala was held at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. 2,000 people, including clients, employees, board members, and healthcare advocates from across the country. It was the company's 5th anniversary under Ethan's leadership, and they were celebrating a milestone. 1 million patients helped through their software and advocacy programs. Ethan stood on stage in a tuxedo, feeling uncomfortable in the formal wear but doing it anyway because Jasmine said it was important to look the part. 5 years ago, he said into the microphone, I inherited a company I didn't understand. I was 26, broke, and completely unqualified. Most people thought I'd run Grant Technologies into the ground within a year, and honestly, I almost did. The audience laughed, but I had help. From Edmund Pemberton, who taught me that dignity matters more than status. From Diane Grant, who showed me that people can change when they're brave enough to try. From Daniel Chen, who believed in me when the evidence said he shouldn't. And most of all, from my wife, Jasmine Cole, who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He looked at Jasmine in the front row, holding 5-year-old Hope on her lap. Their daughter was wearing a purple dress and waving at him enthusiastically. Jasmine was my housekeeper when we met. My siblings looked down on her, dismissed her, threatened her. But she had something they never had, courage. She risked everything to tell the truth, and because of her, we're all here tonight. Because of her, Grant Technologies is changing healthcare. Because of her, 1 million patients have gotten the help they needed. Healthcare, the audience applauded. Jasmine blushed, trying to quiet Hope, who was now standing on her chair cheering. So this gala isn't about me or Grant Technologies. It's about everyone in this room who believes healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. It's about the nurses, the doctors, the advocates, the patients, the families. It's about seeing people as people, not as assets or dollar signs or opportunities. That's the legacy my father wanted. And with your help, it's the legacy we're building. After his speech, Ethan made the rounds, shaking hands and thanking partners. He'd gotten better at this part, the schmoozing, the small talk, the executive presence. He'd never love it, but he could do it. He found Jasmine and Hope at the dessert table. Hope had chocolate cake all over her face. Having fun? Jasmine asked. More fun now that I found you two. A photographer approached. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, can I get a family photo for the company newsletter? They posed together, Ethan and Jasmine on either side of Hope, who grinned her chocolate-covered grin. The photo would later become famous, not because they looked perfect, but because they looked happy. Real happy. The kind of happiness you can't fake. Later, after Hope had fallen asleep in Ethan's arms, after the gala ended and the crowds dispersed, Ethan and Jasmine stood on the museum steps watching the city lights. Do you ever think about how different things could have been? Jasmine asked. If Victoria had won, if the jury had convicted you. Every day, Ethan admitted. But then I remember we didn't lose. We won. And not just the trial, everything that came after. The company, Hope, this life we built. We won because you were brave enough to walk into that courtroom. We won because you were brave enough to believe me. A black car pulled up. Edmund, still insisting on driving them to events, even though he was officially retired, and pushing 75. "Ready to go home?" Edmund asked. "Yeah," Ethan said. "Let's go home." They drove through San Francisco, Hope sleeping peacefully in her car seat. The city had changed over the past 5 years. Tech booms and housing crises and protests and progress. But some things stayed the same. The Golden Gate Bridge still stretched across the bay. The fog still rolled in on summer evenings. And the house in Noe Valley still had a light burning in the window, waiting for them to come home. The next morning was Saturday. Ethan woke to find Hope bouncing on the bed. "Beach day! Beach day! You promised!" He'd promised Alameda Beach if she was good at the gala. And she had been. Chocolate-covered face notwithstanding. They packed sandwiches and sunscreen and drove across the Bay Bridge. The beach was crowded with families, but they found their spot, the same spot where Jasmine's mother had brought her decades ago. Hope immediately started building a sandcastle. Jasmine helped her while Ethan set up the umbrella and blanket. "Higher!" Hope demanded. "Make it taller." "Any taller and it'll fall over," Jasmine laughed. "Then we build it again. That's what Daddy says. If something breaks, you fix it and make it better." Ethan met Jasmine's eyes over their daughter's head. That's what they'd done, wasn't it? Taken something broken, a company, a family, 2 lives, and rebuilt it into something better. After lunch, Hope fell asleep on the blanket. Ethan and Jasmine sat watching the waves, holding hands like they had on their wedding day. "I've been thinking," Jasmine said, "about expanding the advocacy program internationally. There are so many countries with broken healthcare systems. We could help. That's a huge undertaking." "I know. But we have the resources, we have the expertise, and we have Hope watching. I want her to grow up seeing her parents trying to make the world better, not just talking about it." Ethan smiled. "Then let's do it. You plan it, I'll fund it, and we'll change the world together. Just like that? Just like that. That's what partners do." They stayed at the beach until sunset, building sandcastles with Hope, collecting shells, watching sailboats on the bay. Simple days, good days. The kind of days that made all the hard ones worth it. On the drive home, Hope asked, "Daddy, what happened to the mean lady? The one from the stories?" Ethan glanced at Jasmine, who shrugged. They'd tried to keep the Victoria drama away from Hope, but kids picked up on things. "She made some bad choices," Ethan said carefully, "and she's paying for them now." "Is she sorry?" "I don't know, sweetie. I hope so. If she's sorry, will you forgive her?" Ethan thought about that. Would he? Could he? Victoria had tried to destroy him, had threatened Jasmine's mother, had stolen from their father's company. But she was also someone who'd been raised wrong, taught the wrong values, never given the chance to be better. "Maybe someday," he said. "Forgiveness takes time. Mama says forgiveness is for us, not for them. It means we don't carry the angry feelings anymore." Jasmine laughed from the passenger seat. "Did I say that?" "Yes. When I was mad at Emily for breaking my toy. Well, I was right. Forgiveness is for us. But it doesn't mean we forget what happened or pretend it didn't hurt." Back at the house, after Hope was bathed and in bed, Ethan got a call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Hello?" "Ethan, it's Diane." "Hey, what's up?" There was a long pause. "I visited Victoria today. At the prison, Ethan went still." "Why?" "Because she's my sister, and because I wanted to see if she'd changed at all." Another pause. "She hasn't. She's still angry, still blaming everyone else. She said you stole her life, that Jasmine manipulated you, that she's the victim in all of this." "I'm sorry, Diane. Don't be. I needed to see it for myself. I needed to know for sure that I made the right choice in walking away from her. Diane's voice got stronger. I wanted to tell you thank you for giving me a chance when you didn't have to, for showing me that family isn't just blood, it's the people who choose to be there. You and Jasmine are more my family than Victoria ever was. You're Hope's favorite aunt, Ethan said. Of course you're family. After they hung up, Jasmine came downstairs in her pajamas. Everything okay? Yeah. Diane visited Victoria, and Victoria still doesn't get it. Still thinks she's the victim. Jasmine sat next to him on the couch. Some people never change, but that's not your responsibility. You gave her siblings a chance to be better. Diane took it. Trevor and Victoria didn't. Their choices aren't your burden. I know. I just wish things had been different. I wish my father had been brave enough to build a real family instead of this broken mess. But he wasn't. And that's okay, because you're building what he couldn't. With Hope, with me, with Diane, with everyone at Grant Technologies, you're creating the family and the legacy you wanted, not just inheriting the one he left behind. Ethan pulled her close. How'd you get so wise? I had good teachers, a mom who worked 3 jobs to give me opportunities, a husband who sees people instead of assets, a 5-year-old who asks impossible questions. She kissed him. We're doing okay, Ethan Cole. Better than okay. Yeah, he agreed. We really are. 10 years after the trial, Ethan Cole stood in the same San Francisco courthouse where his life had almost ended. But this time, he wasn't a defendant. He was there to watch Victoria Grant's parole hearing. She'd served 10 years of her 22-year sentence. With good behavior, she was eligible for early release. Ethan had been notified as a victim in her crimes, and he'd decided to attend. Jasmine came with him, along with Daniel Chen, who'd remained a friend even after the trial ended. They sat in the back of the hearing room, watching Victoria enter in a prison jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of her. She'd aged. Grey streaks in her dark hair, lines around her eyes, the polished veneer completely gone. She looked tired, broken, almost human. The parole board asked their questions. Had she taken responsibility for her actions? Did she understand the harm she'd caused? What were her plans if released? Victoria answered carefully. I stole from my father's company. I framed my half-brother for my crimes. I threatened an innocent woman and her sick mother. I was arrogant, greedy, and cruel. I thought I deserved success because of my last name, but I never actually earned anything. I destroyed my family and betrayed everyone who trusted me. One of the board members asked, Do you have anything to say to your victims? Victoria looked around the room, and her eyes landed on Ethan. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Shame, maybe. Or regret. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. Ethan had every right to hate me. I tried to destroy him because I couldn't accept that our father saw something in him that he never saw in me. I was jealous of someone who had nothing, because he had the one thing I couldn't buy, integrity. I'm sorry. It doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. The parole board deliberated for 20 minutes, then returned with their decision. Parole granted. Victoria would be released in 30 days with strict conditions: no contact with the victims, regular meetings with the parole officer, community service, and complete prohibition from any corporate leadership roles. Victoria left the hearing room without looking back. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Mr. Cole, how do you feel about Victoria's release? Ethan stopped and faced the cameras. I feel like justice was served. She went to prison, she served her time, and now she has a chance to rebuild her life. That's how the system is supposed to work. Do you forgive her? Ethan thought about Hope's question from years ago, about forgiveness being for them, not for the person who hurt them. "I'm working on it," he said honestly. "Forgiveness takes time, but I don't carry anger toward her anymore. I'm too busy living my life to waste energy on hating someone who can't hurt me anymore." "Will you ever reconcile with her?" "I don't know. That's up to her. She knows where to find me if she ever wants to try. They left before the reporters could ask more questions." In the car, Jasmine took his hand. "You okay?" "Yeah. It felt good to say I don't hate her anymore, because I don't. I actually feel kind of sorry for her." "Why?" "Because she spent 50 years believing the wrong things. Money, status, power. She thought that's what mattered. And she lost everything chasing it. Meanwhile, I have you, Hope, the company, this incredible life. I won without even trying to beat her. I just lived according to different values." "Your father's letter was right. You do see people as people. So do you. That's why we work. At home they found Hope, now 10 years old and tall for her age, doing homework at the kitchen table. Edmund was helping her with math, even though he was 82, and claimed he couldn't remember basic algebra. "How'd the hearing go?" Edmund asked. "She's getting out in 30 days, Ethan said. Hope looked up. "The mean lady from the stories?" "She's not mean anymore, sweetheart. She's just sad." "Are you going to forgive her?" "Maybe. Someday." "Good," Hope said, returning to her homework. "Mama says forgiveness makes room for better things." Jasmine laughed. "I say that a lot, apparently." That night, after Hope was in bed, Ethan and Jasmine sat on their back porch drinking wine and watching the stars. "Grant Technologies hit 2 million patients helped last month," Jasmine said. "The international expansion is working. We're in 12 countries now. Your advocacy program is the reason. You trained those teams. You built those partnerships. We built them. Together." Ethan smiled. "Together. I like that. Ethan, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you ever regret how it all happened? The trial, the accusations, all the pain?" Ethan thought about it. "No. Because if Victoria hadn't framed me, I never would have known what I was capable of. I never would have seen you stand up in that courtroom and risk everything for someone you barely knew. I never would have learned that being good matters more than being rich. All of that pain led to this. To us. To Hope. To a company that's actually changing lives. So no, I don't regret it. Even the parts that hurt? Especially the parts that hurt. That's where the growth happened." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes after years of partnership. "I got an email today," Jasmine said, "from a patient in Kenya. She said our software helped her clinic save her daughter's life. She wanted to thank us." "Did you write back?" "Of course. I told her we're just doing what we can with what we have, and I thanked her for trusting us. That's the difference between us and Victoria," Ethan said. "She wanted gratitude. We're grateful to be able to help. She saw healthcare as a market. We see it as a mission. Your father would be proud." "I think he is. Somewhere." The next month, Ethan got a letter. No return address, but he recognized the handwriting from old documents. Victoria's. He almost threw it away. But curiosity won. "Dear Ethan, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness or even acknowledgement, but I needed to write it anyway. Prison gives you a lot of time to think. 10 years of thinking about what I did, who I was, who I could have been. I destroyed everything because I couldn't accept that our father saw something in you that he didn't see in me. But now I understand what he saw. You cared. About people, about doing right, about building something meaningful. I only cared about winning. About proving I was better than everyone else. And in trying to be better, I became worse. I heard Ground Technologies is thriving, that you've helped millions of patients, that you married Jasmine and have a daughter. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. You deserved it then too, but I was too bitter to see it. I won't contact you again. I don't deserve a place in your life. But I wanted you to know that you were right to fight back. You were right to believe in yourself, and Jasmine was right to believe in you. I hope you build everything you dream of. I hope your daughter never knows what it's like to value the wrong things. And I hope someday, maybe years from now, you'll think of me without anger. That's all I can ask for. Victoria? Ethan read the letter twice, then showed it to Jasmine. What are you going to do? She asked. Nothing, I think. She said she won't contact me again. And that's okay. She needed to write it. I needed to read it. And now we can both move forward. Do you believe she means it? I think she means it right now. Whether she'll still mean it in a year or 5 years or 10, I don't know. But it's not my job to fix her. She has to fix herself. Jasmine nodded. Are you going to tell Hope? When she's older? Yeah, all of it, the good and the bad. I want her to know that people can be complicated, that family can be messy, that you can inherit wealth without inheriting character, and that sometimes the people who save you aren't the ones you expect. Like a maid with a business degree? Exactly like that. They burned the letter in the fireplace that night. Not out of anger, but out of closure. Victoria had said her piece, Ethan had heard it, and now it was over. The next day was Saturday, beach day. They drove to Alameda Beach, the same spot where Jasmine's mother had brought her decades ago, where Ethan and Jasmine had gotten married, where they'd built 1,000 sandcastles with Hope. Hope ran ahead to the water, shouting for them to hurry up. Ethan and Jasmine walked slowly, holding hands, carrying the cooler and beach chairs and all the gear that comes with parenthood. You know what I'm grateful for? Jasmine said. What? That night in the kitchen, when you offered to share your sandwich with the maid you just met. That's when everything started. I'm grateful you said yes. To the sandwich, to helping me investigate, to testifying, to marrying me, to building this life. I'm grateful your father was brave enough to see you for who you really are, even if he was too cowardly to know you while he was alive. I'm grateful you were brave enough to walk into that courtroom when you had every reason to stay silent. They reached their spot on the beach and set up. Hope was already digging in the sand, planning an elaborate castle with towers and moats. Mama! Daddy! Come help! They spent the afternoon building the best sandcastle they'd ever made. 4 towers, connected walls, a moat that actually held water. Hope declared it a palace for a princess who saved a prince. That's not how the story usually goes, Ethan said. It's how our story goes, Hope said matter-of-factly. Mama saved you. She told me. Jasmine and Ethan exchanged smiles. You're right, Ethan said. Mama did save me, and she keeps saving me every day. That's what mamas do, Hope said, returning to her castle construction. As the sun set over the bay, painting the sky orange and pink, Ethan pulled out his phone and took a picture. Hope standing proud next to her sandcastle, Jasmine laughing with sand in her hair, the Golden Gate Bridge visible in the distance. This was the photo that would go on his desk at Grant Technologies. Not the professional portraits, not the magazine covers, not the awards and accolades. This, his family, his life, everything that mattered. What are you thinking about? Jasmine asked. How far we've come. About the kid who showed up at his father's house with nothing but a duffel bag and a chip on his shoulder. About the maid who shared her sandwich with a stranger. About how all the terrible things led to all the beautiful things. Regrets? Not a single one. Hope called them over to judge her castle. They declared it the best one yet, as they did every time. Then they packed up and drove home as the stars came out, Hope falling asleep in her car seat, sticky with sunscreen and happy. At home, Ethan carried Hope to bed while Jasmine cleaned up. Edmund had left dinner in the fridge with a note, leftovers from Sunday's roast. Heat at 350 for 20 minutes. Sleep well. E. After eating, after showers, after all the small rituals of family life, Ethan and Jasmine lay in bed talking quietly. "Do you think we'll ever be completely done with the past?" Jasmine asked. "With Victoria and the trial and all of it?" "I think the past is always part of us, but it doesn't define us. What defines us is what we do now, how we raise Hope, how we run the company, how we treat people. That's the legacy we're building." A legacy of seeing people. Exactly. Jasmine rolled over to face him. "I love you, Ethan Cole. Then, now, always, I love you too. More than sandwiches." She laughed. "More than sandwiches? That's serious. It's the highest compliment I know." They fell asleep tangled together, the house quiet around them, the city lights twinkling through the window. Outside, San Francisco kept moving, kept changing, kept being the complicated, beautiful, messy place it had always been. But in that house in Noe Valley, everything was exactly as it should be. A family built not on blood or money or obligation, but on choice, on truth, on courage. On a maid who walked into a courtroom when everyone told her to stay silent. On a man who believed her when everyone said he shouldn't. On a love that started with a shared sandwich and became everything. That's how the story ended. Not with revenge or redemption or some dramatic final confrontation, just with life. Simple, good, everyday life. And that was more than enough, the end. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you made it all the way to the end, you're amazing. Please hit that like button one more time. Drop a comment telling me what you thought.